Target, the giant retailer, cutting its forecast today. It cited economic turbulence from the trade war. Doug Flynn is here, the co-founder of Flynn Zito, to talk about this and more. 4 minutes until the closing bell. All right. So we've talked about Walmart, right? And that was like the story became, all right, Walmart's has its issues. It's going to raise prices. And then some other companies, Home Depot, steady. Target now cutting the sales forecast. What did you make of Target's commentary?
Yeah, well, Target's had some issues over the past year, and it's not just this. I mean, they've tried to diminish their sourcing from China. They've cut it a lot, but it's still 30% of their business. They're trying to get that down. Their same-store sales are down. Demand is just slowing, and that's really the issue over there. But the stock is down about 40% over the past year, and that's a good way to gauge it versus the peers. For example, Costco, in contrast, is up 30%, its stock that is, and Walmart stock has doubled. So in the time that Target has been dropped about 40%, Walmart's doubled. So it's telling you about how they're running the business. And they've made a couple of other strategic mistakes along the way, and they're trying to get through this. So it's just adding insult to injury with the tariffs and everything else that's going on with them. They haven't managed it well so far yet.
Yeah, I saw that line with Target with the three comparing Walmart and Amazon, and it's at the bottom of the bunch there, which says Target specific rather than a big macro issue. On the macro front, right, these companies in general, when the president says, well, Walmart, you got to eat some of this. What's your view on the eating of the tariffs argument in retail? Like, in other words, I've seen some commentaries, well, the margins are pretty tight, so you got a tariff, especially from China, that even if it's 30%, that's tough to eat.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of talk. I guess he's trying to shame everybody into trying to keep the tariff raising to the minimum that they possibly can. And I think the Walmart approach is probably the best, which is essentially, we'll eat a little bit. The suppliers will have to eat some, and then the consumer's going to have to eat a little bit. If the tariffs are truly going to work their way in, and it seems like even though they're not going to be as high as what has been thrown out there, they're going to be around. So it's going to work its way in. But tariffs, if you take a step back, they do have a one-time adjustment to the price, and then it's just regular inflation from there. So there's an adjustment, but I don't think a 10% tariff overall, if it's spread out, is going to drive us into recession. That's not enough to do it. It has to be much more than that. So I think that's the approach that works, probably going to work the best.
One comment on the just on the market, on the stock market in general. We have about 90 seconds left in the trading day, and just to put all of this in perspective, so it's a down day. If you look at the three major averages across the board, they are all lower, and the Dow's down right now by nearly 800 points, 790 points. Okay, it looked like there was a kind of a rough. I mentioned this just in passing earlier. Bond market auction, is that right this morning? And what does that tell you about? Because immediately I started to go back to these conversations we've had about, quote unquote, sell America and that kind of thing, but maybe it was something different.
Well, the bond market today, there was an auction. It was very weak, and the fear is that this bill that they're trying to get passed is going to drive up the deficit, or at least have it grow, much faster than expected. And that always happens in the initial reaction. But we're basically right where we started the year at on the bond yield, so not enough to really worry too much. But the market's going to react after a 14% move on the S&P and an almost 20% move on the NASDAQ off the low just a month ago.
Stocks
so that's what's going on today.
And sometimes stocks go down. So that's what you're basically telling us, and that's the way it works. All right, Doug, as always, thank you. Doug Flynn on all things market as they get ready to ring that.